Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Julia and I am currently a third year medical student, so almost done. But today I do want to kind of walk you through how I got to this point and talk about my journey and the path to medicine and through medicine. All right, so I'm gonna try to keep this video as short as possible. I do like to talk, so I'm sorry, but I'm gonna try to just focus and hit on the major points throughout the journey and things that were of significant importance to this point that I'm at right now. So where do I even begin? I guess it all started on a Sunday evening in 1993. I was in the hospital room. I'm just kidding, we're not gonna do all that. But so I was pretty much raised in a single family household. My father unfortunately passed away when I was 7 due to heart disease. So my mom raised me and my sisters herself. And I guess you can say that was kind of my first exposure to medicine. I always thought growing up that I wanted to be a vet and I loved animals. And I was like, yeah, I wanna help animals. And then I think the passing of my father kind of shifted that focus to humans, and I want to help humans and be a human doctor. And when I was little, my mom would always call me Dr. Carter, so it just happened that way. And I think some of those things, like even what your parents call you and what they put in your head when you're younger, unconsciously steer you in certain directions. So from when I was young, after the whole veterinary thing, it was kind of always just like, I'm going to be a human doctor. So a lot of my decision making was with that in mind, like how do I become a doctor? So fast forward, I was always kind of like a good student in middle school, and then high school came and I was just like doing what I want. The books kind of took a back seat and I fell off academically a lot, and I was just being a teenager, like a rebellious kind of teenager, and my grades definitely took a hit, and I was kind of now just like an average student, which wasn't the case for me typically. So I graduated high school very average. I took the SAT, very average, but I did know that I wanted to go to college and I did want to pursue this goal of becoming a doctor. And my mom would always say, you girls either got to go to college or get a job, but you're not going to do nothing. So I knew kind of what road I wanted to go down. It's just, I was being a teenager. So I lost focus of the goal. But once I knew that, like, let me get my act together, I really do want to go to college and pursue this. And so my senior year, I really started to get more serious about academics and college and the next stage. Unfortunately, it was kind of like a little too late because I didn't apply broadly. I kept a very narrow focused mind when it came to college. So I only looked locally in my state. So I'm from Pennsylvania. And so the concept of going out of state for college or pursuing schools or universities that were in other states or across the country was a little far-fetched for me. I just didn't know any better. And I was a first generation college student. So my mom really didn't know either. It was just like, go to college. But what exactly that means, you got to figure it out on your own. So for college, I ended up deciding on the Pennsylvania State University, go Nittany Lions. I came in as a biology major, so general biology. There's this pre-med versus biology kind of debate, and where I landed on it was pre-med is very narrow. It kind of pigeonholes you into a medical program. There's not really another option if you decide anything else. Whereas biology is a science, it's broad, and if you decided that medicine is not for you, then you could go off and do many other things with that degree. So that's why I made the decision I did. I didn't doubt that I was gonna go into medicine, but if anything were to happen, if I didn't get accepted or something, I wanted to have that fallback just in case, a degree that would be usable. The great thing about Penn State is that it has branch campuses, we call them, or satellite campuses. So they have their main campus in University Park, but all throughout Pennsylvania, they have these smaller, more affordable campuses that people can start at and do 2 years there and 2 years at the main campus, or they can do all 4 years at the branch campus if their classes allow. So that's something I did. So I took advantage of that and did 2 years at a branch campus and then 2 years at main campus. It saved me a lot of money. It helped me so much academically and get better grades because I had smaller classes, and it was just the greatest decision I could have made doing the 2 and 2. Stayed in my hometown, did the branch campus, worked, saved money, got good grades, and then boom, went to main campus, state college. I realized whoa, those first 2 years, I didn't know what college was. That was just a continuation of high school. I was just taking college classes. I got to Penn State and I was like, damn, this is college. Woo, my world open, you know. Branch campuses are great and they will get you your college education, but it can often feel like you're not really getting the full college experience because, you know, there's not as many organizations and extracurriculars, and it's just like the classes. Whereas you go to main campus, if you've ever been to State College, anybody who's been to Penn State, has gone to football games, have partied in Penn State, you know it's the real deal. It is the real deal. Penn State goes hard, and I was there like, culture shock, I'm just a transfer student. Anyway, it was a great time. My last 2 years at Penn State, Maine were a grand old time. Granted, you know, my grades definitely took a hit more so than my first 2 years once I went to main campus, but I was very focused. By that point, I was like 3 years in and I knew where I was headed. I knew what I wanted to do and that I couldn't slip up too much. So I definitely had fun. I definitely had an amazing college experience, but I always knew that college is gonna set the groundwork for what you do next. Don't fumble the ball there, you know what I mean? It's not the place to kind of like wild out and forget why you're there, at least in my opinion. I had a great time, but I also was super focused and I was always mindful of, you gotta be a doctor, you gotta be a doctor. So my last 2 years, I'm finishing all my coursework, I'm, you know, involved in a bunch of extracurriculars, and here comes the MCAT, the damn MCAT. Make sure if you did not watch, you go check out the story of my MCAT journey, because boy, was it a story, and it was the most challenging obstacle for me in getting to this point and getting to med school, hands down, hands down. And it just wasn't fun. When it came to the MCAT, I was like a fish out of water. I just didn't know what it was, and it was such a struggle for me. So go watch those videos. I won't go too in depth to it here, but long story short, I failed the MCAT my first time when I was a junior in college. So therefore I had to go with the plan B and take some gap years and take the MCAT again and kind of go a roundabout way that I did not plan to medical school. And I say plan B, but it was the plan that was for me. It was the right plan because it was my gap years and the master's degree that I got during those gap years and everything else that I did and all the growth that I had during those gap years that really got me to this point. So go check those videos out about my MCAT journey and about my gap years video as well. They explain that more in depth. But like I said, I failed the MCAT, so then I took gap years. So after I graduated from Penn State in 2015, I went on to the University of Pittsburgh, right down the street, and went and got my Master of Public Health, or my MPH degree. The reason I did an MPH was because I had heard through, you know, my extracurriculars and my internships at Penn State that an MPH really looked good when you were applying for medical school because public health and medicine kind of go hand in hand. And if you're gonna go get a master's degree, like this is something that would make you a more competitive applicant when you apply for med school. And I was like, bet, let's do that. So I went to Pitt, spent 2 years, got my MPH, amazing experience. I can see now why it was so useful to get an MPH before medical school, because it did help me stand out on my application. But more importantly, the knowledge that I got during my MPH is so applicable to medicine, and I'm seeing questions about epidemiology and about public health and biostatistics that I learned in depth in my master's degree on my board exams for medicine. So it's like, I'm at a huge advantage. My peers are like, what are biostatistics? And I'm like, let me teach you a few things. I got it on lock. I did my 2 years for my master's degree, and during my last year was when I retook the MCAT and did well on that the second time. But as you know, the way the AMCAS or medical school application cycle works is that you kind of apply a year in advance to when you're actually gonna start medical school. So while I applied my second year of my master's degree, that wouldn't make me start until the year after. So I had another year off, like another gap year, but I wasn't gonna be in my master's program. So I was like, what do I do? So I wanted to kind of switch it up. It was gonna be the first time in 6 years from undergrad and grad school that I wasn't gonna be in school. And I wanted to experience something new. I didn't wanna be in school anymore. And I was like, let's go experience a new city and do something else and just experience adulthood. So I moved to a new city, DC, and got a job as a medical assistant in a dermatology practice. I wasn't even interested in dermatology. I just wanted medical experience, and I'm still not interested in derm, sorry, but it was great experience nonetheless. I got to work directly with patients. I was basically the nurse for the doctor. Instead of nurses, they used medical assistants, and you had so much freedom to like do what you want, and you got to see the patient first. Sometimes I would see the patient and the doctor barely would. I would send the prescriptions. I would, ask all the questions, interview them. It was like being a mini doctor before med school, and it got me so much experience and patient contact that was like so helpful coming into medical school, because I knew a lot of the skills that were needed and how to just work with patients. So I did that for almost a full year while I was also on the interview trail. So as I was applying to medical school and getting, interviews and acceptances and all of that. So luckily my job was very understanding that I was going to medical school. I was upfront with them about that, and they gave me a lot of time off and a lot of flexibility to go on all these interviews and travel all over the world. So I'm gonna do another video on like my entire med school application and how that got me so many acceptances and interviews and all of that. So stay tuned. But in a nutshell, I got like 20 something interviews. It got to the point where like it was too many and I was just saying no or rejecting, interviews, because interviewing is expensive, you guys. Like you have to pay your way. Like you have to pay your travels. You have to pay, for hotels sometimes, like if they don't put you up. And that gets really, really pricey, especially if you're traveling out of state or coast to coast. So I started to become like really selective with my interviews and rule out schools that I knew that I wouldn't want to go to. So at the end of the day, I had 10 medical school acceptances, and the choice came down to basically two, which were Cornell and Rutgers, New Jersey medical schools. So they're right across the bridge from each other, and they both had their own characteristics. And I'm gonna do a completely separate video about why I chose the specific medical school I did and about the full tuition scholarship that I got and all of that. But I eventually made my decision, which was Rutgers, New Jersey medical school. And now here I am. I'm a third-year medical student, and it was the greatest decision of my life. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm so blessed, and I'm so privileged, to be able to share information with you guys and share my story about how I got to this point, and hopefully it resonates with somebody out there, somebody watching this video. I'm an advocate for passing the ladder down and helping others, while they climb. So if any of you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment box below. I try to respond to every single comment, every single direct message that I get on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go check me out at the Julia Carter. I respond to every DM regarding, my YouTube content that I get. So please hit me up if you have any questions or if you need any advice on where you're at in your journey or where you want to go. All right, guys, so that was it. I talked a little bit longer than I wanted to, but that's me. So that's just a little bit about me and kind of my story and my journey to medicine, because I want to show you guys that there is no one path to medicine or to med school, and that there's no one way to do things, and that especially, those of us who are underrepresented in medicine, we might have a different story or different experience that others might not share or be able to relate to. So I just want to kind of show you who I am and be transparent in this process and in this journey, and hopefully that helps some of you out there wanting to go along the same path. So that's it. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Stay tuned for my new videos. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, stop playing with me, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.